Am I the asshole for telling my neighbor I dated her husband? I, 33 female, became friendly with my neighbor, 37 female. We'll call her Emily. After I helped her move a few boxes into our building while her husband, 35 male, was in the hospital. I didn't meet Emily's husband until a few weeks later when she invited me over to dinner as a thank you. When I arrived, Emily's husband had run out to pick up some wine, and when he came back, I was shocked to see Matt, a guy I had gone on 3 dates with just a year ago, before he suddenly ghosted me. He had a terrible poker face and tried to pretend like he didn't recognize me, but I don't play those games. I asked how long him and Emily had been married, and she said 3 years.
Uh-oh.
She recognized that there was some tension and asked if we knew each other. He said no. I said yes, and told Emily that I had gone on dates with him just a year ago.
Uh-oh.
Emily became very upset and asked me to leave, which I did. The next day, Emily reached out and said that she didn't appreciate that I lied about when I dated her husband.
Oh.
He told her that we dated about 4 years ago, before they were married.
So he's saying that they dated, but he already said he didn't know her.
Yep.
I didn't even live in the city 4 years ago. And even if we had dated 4 years ago, they had been engaged at that point. Either way, he was cheating on her. I sent her screenshots of our text from the year before and from the Bumble profile that he still has active. She never responded, but when I saw her in the lobby yesterday, she wouldn't even look me in the eye. I don't know if they're still together, and Emily hasn't responded to my text, so am I the asshole for telling her the truth?
Yikes. I mean, you're not the asshole at all.
No, yeah, no. Especially to a man that ghosted you. He didn't even like end things with you. He just ghosted. And now he wants you to lie for him to his wife who's about to be your friend. Like, it's wild to me that he would assume that you would lie for him after he ghosted you.
Well, he's like actively trying to like genuinely gaslight. No, I don't know you. And then when you say yeah, then now you can corner your wife when she's alone and be like, she's crazy. Like, what's going on?
And that should be your fucking sign as the wife to be like, well, you told me you didn't know her and now you're backpedaling. So what are you? Yeah. You're lying. You're clearly lying.
Am I the asshole for telling my son that he should wear his sister's old coat to school? My 8-year-old son, we'll call him Ryan, has always been a bit careless. He routinely leaves stuff at his friends' houses, forgets to do certain steps on tests, and flat out loses his possessions. My wife and I were concerned enough about this to speak to his physician, but he insisted that Ryan is simply a kid and is going to be prone to carelessness from time to time. However, earlier today, Ryan came home without his coat on. We live in the northern United States, so it's quite cold in January. So you can understand why I was embarrassed when he walked back to our house with the other children from the bus stop. He greeted me with a smile, but I frowned and asked him what he had done with his coat. He looked down at the floor in shame and said that he had misplaced it at school and decided to just come home without it rather than taking the time to search for it and potentially miss the bus. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. His mother and I had spent good money for his new coat since his old one was quite worn and had just given it to him for Christmas. Now, here we were a month later and it's gone. I punished him immediately, telling him to go to his room. He seemed very sulky, but he ultimately complied and closed his bedroom door behind him. I was still angry about the whole thing. Then I got an idea. Ryan's older sister still had some of her old coats in a box down in our basement. I went down to the basement and pulled out an old coat of hers. It had flowers on it and was pink. I laughed to myself, went back upstairs and knocked on Ryan's door. I told him, since you clearly have no respect for other people's money, guess what you'll be wearing to school tomorrow? I showed him Katie's flower coat and he just about fell off his bed. In fact, I think he might have started tearing up.
He probably did. He's a kid. He's a child.
He kept saying over and over again, oh no, Dad, I can't wear that. But I reminded him that it was his decision to waste our money and lose his jacket. So this was the consequence of choosing to be careless. He had a full-scale meltdown at this point, which I found quite humorous. The idea that he would get to have it both ways, lose his coat and have us buy him a new one, was simply ludicrous to me. And the public humiliation of him wearing such a coat in front of all of his friends would no doubt make him behave in a more careful way next time. Well, at this point, my wife walked in the door, and I had my son tell her everything. She immediately asked to speak to me in private, and boy, did I get an earful. She told me that what I had done was cruel, and that Ryan couldn't wear Katie's old coat to school because it would be humiliating. I asked, why not? He's already humiliated us.
Dude, you're pathetic.
Now my wife won't speak to me. I keep trying to get her to see my point, but she just refuses to do so. I just wish she could understand.
Am I the asshole for having a bunch of formulas written on my calculator?
What an asshole.
YTA.
Nerd.
Nerd.
I'm not gonna lie, I have like a side story about this shit. I am like the anti-Asian stereotype. I suck at math.
So I, 21 male, recently admitted myself into an engineering university, and I'm studying computer science. Today was the final exam of our first semester. This wasn't my dream university, but it had what I was looking for. Our engineer physics course wasn't taught properly during class. They just gave out slides, presentations, and the classes were boring. No one really understood what the prof was doing, and it all felt very rushed. As a result, I didn't understand a single bit of that course. I will say it's your first year in that program. Like engineering is pretty
Probably,
high up there.
Yeah.
I also would not understand it.
Yeah.
Today was our engineering physics exam, and I've been studying for it for the past week, day and night. The slides contained so much content, and so little of it was covered properly in class that I wasn't able to complete my preparation. Everything about it was memorizing formulas and trying to recall how to derive things, etc. So I wrote a few formulas on the back of my calculator, just a few, so that if I forgot them during the exam, I could look at them and remember. During the exam, I didn't even need those formulas, but when the invigilator, that is what it says. Okay, I'm not dumb. That is,
I am.
I guess it's the person who like monitors the exam. When they came to assign my exam sheet, he saw my calculator, took me to the board, and expelled me. It was just one formula, and in brackets, it was one formula with two of its interpretations. I told him I have never tried to cheat in an exam before. I also explained that if they expelled me, I would get an F in this course, which would seriously affect the CGPA I've been working hard to maintain. And without a good CGPA, I wouldn't be able to secure a scholarship for my master's degree. I even told him that he could isolate me and let me continue the exam in the bathroom or under supervision, anything he wanted. But the invigilator didn't even flinch. He just said, "You're finished." Then he took me to the Board of Exam Control. They took my statement, and I wasn't allowed to explain anything else. They just expelled me. I don't know how someone could be so heartless. It was just one formula. I would like to point out that I have always been one of the top students in my class, and I had a reputation for good academics. Now I feel that reputation with my classmates and my professor is ruined. At this point, I don't know what to do or what my next step should be. If the invigilator had handled it more discreetly, I would have understood, but he chose to shame me publicly, and now I feel I won't even be able to go back there anymore. I begged and pleaded, but nothing seemed to work, so am I the asshole here?
Trigger warning on this next one, friends. It does contain mentions of a not so healthy, toxic relationship, kind of abusive. So if you can't handle that today, please skip to the next one. It is coming from AITA, 23 hours old, titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my best friend her marriage is doomed at her bachelorette party and accidentally getting her wedding canceled?" This weekend was a disaster. I, 27 female, have been best friends with Amy, 28 female, for years. She has been with this guy, Jake, for about 3 years, and honestly, he is a walking red flag. He is super controlling, jealous, and always checking her location. Once, he called her 9 times while we were just shopping at Target.
Oh, okay. That's bad.
Bad.
Oh.
Amy keeps defending him, saying he is just protective because he cares so much. Whatever. At her bachelorette party, it was supposed to be a fun girls' night, but Jake kept blowing up her phone. Texts, FaceTimes, asking where she was, accusing her of acting single.
Oh, God.
She kept leaving to call him back, crying and apologizing,
Oh, my God.
while the rest of us just sat there awkwardly. After about the 4th time she left the table, I just lost it. When she came back, I said loud enough for the whole table to hear, "You are not marrying a husband. You are signing up for a lifetime of being babysat by a jealous man-child."
Mm-hmm.
Amy started crying and ran out of the bar, and half of the girls followed her. Later that night, her mom called me, drunk, thanking me.
Love.
Because apparently they have all been worried about Jake, but did not know how to stop the wedding.
Yeah.
Her mom told Amy if she goes through with the wedding, they will not pay for it. Now, Amy has blocked Jake, moved out of their apartment, and moved back into her parents' house. But she has also blocked me for humiliating her.
Oh, please. Come on.
Half of our friend group is saying I did the right thing. The other half is calling me jealous and toxic
Absolutely not.
for blowing up her relationship right before the wedding. So, am I the asshole?
No. I mean, sure. Could you have said it in a different way that would have been less dramatic in front of the entire friend group? Sure. But like you said, a reasonable crash out. Sometimes it's hard with these type of things. Like sometimes it's hard to have these conversations when you are worried with your friends. And sometimes that moment just comes over you. And it was out of protection and care for the friend is what it sounds like to me. So
Yeah.
yes, maybe you should have said it behind closed doors, had that conversation, but she just saved you. She saved you.
I'm sharing the story time about how I stuffed up my first ever job interview when I was 14. So basically, my best friend at the time and I were in desperate need for our first ever job. So we were looking on the job seeker sites and we came across this local play centre in our area who was actually hiring. For some reason, we thought that the job entailed supervising children, working in the cafe, you know, just the basic play centre duties. But no, that wasn't actually the case. So we both heard back from the hirer or the manager and we got asked to come in for an interview. We came in for an interview. There was, I think, around 5 people already waiting, and one by one, she was calling us in for a one-on-one interview. Anyway, so my best friend goes into the interview first and I was straight after her. Anyway, as she was coming out, I was going in and like we looked at each other and we were like, because I had no idea what to expect and I think that she like stuffed it up too. Well, she actually did. We both stuffed it up. Basically, the hirer called me in and we had a one-on-one interview and basically she sat me down and she was just going over my resume and she's like, so you've had like no job experience? And I was like, 14. I'm like, no, like, you know, I'm just looking for a first job. Anyway, she was like, so what qualities do you have? And like all that silly stuff. Anyway, and then she goes to me, so what does this job entail? Why did you apply for this job? And I'm like, you know, like I would really like to supervise children at a play center. Like I love kids, I love being around them. Whatever I said, I can't even remember, but I said something along those lines. So basically, I'm like, you know, saying that I really love kids and, you know, that I want to supervise them, which I thought that's what we were doing. Anyway, she kind of stops me there and she goes, no, this isn't what the job's about. And I like died. I was like, are you kidding? No way. I just stuffed up this job interview thinking that I applied for a job that didn't even exist pretty much. So she then goes to me, no, this isn't what the job's about. The job is actually being a party host. So you're going to be hosting parties and doing all that jazz. I don't even remember what the job entailed, but basically being a party host. And I had no idea. Like, I didn't even know. Clearly, I didn't read the application thing when it was posted and when I applied because I had no idea. Anyway, so I knew that immediately I would not have gotten the job because I go into the job interview not even knowing what job I'm applying for. So I walk out of my interview and my best friend and I go home together. And I think we both said to each other, like, yeah, like, we think we stuffed this up. And I can't remember if she said it first or if I said that I, like, got the job wrong, what we applied for. And we both pretty much said that we were applying because we like children and want to supervise them. So we both stuffed up what the job was actually about. So basically, we actually never ended up hearing back. So clearly we didn't get the job, but yeah, just make sure that when you apply for jobs, you actually know what you're applying for. Because this was my first time even going to a job interview, so I didn't even know what to expect. I didn't even know what job I was applying for. So yeah, that was a big lesson learnt.